Hi guys, welcome back to part 5, I think, now in our scientific method series. We're going to finish up with scientific method today with steps 6 and 7. So now we've gotten all the way through. Let's go back so we can see. Remember, we conducted our experiment, we collected the data, we analyzed and interpreted the data. Okay, so now we are ready for the next step, which is to draw a conclusion. Now, the conclusion statement, we're going to follow a specific format, and I will be giving you that in class. I'll be giving you access to kind of a checklist for what you need to include in a conclusion statement. But a conclusion statement for an experiment is basically a summary of the experiment that tells your reader what you learned, like what your hypothesis was. You talk about what you thought was the answer to the question, your hypothesis. You talk about the data that you collected. What did the analysis of the data tell you? What did you learn from the data? What you would, whether your hypothesis was proven or not, that's a part of it. So were you right or not? And then the next part, the last part, should always include a what next statement. So let's say your hypothesis was right. You had the correct answer, but you still don't know everything about that topic. So there's always room for growth. There's always, you can always go further with an experiment. You can always learn more. So maybe you want to add some more cooling methods like we did with the diet root beer. Maybe you want to try like a bottle next time, a plastic bottle soda next time. Maybe you want to try a different type of soda and see if it still is the best cooling method, the one that you selected. And the same thing if your hypothesis is wrong. If you were completely off the mark, that's okay. You still know more now than when you started, right? So your what next might be, how are you going to change your hypothesis? What do you think now is the answer to the question? Do you want to hit it from a different direction, or do you want to change the cooling methods altogether? All right, so conclusion is a summary of your experiment. It includes telling your reader what your hypothesis was. You talk about the data that you collected, what the analysis of the data was. You have to talk about whether your hypothesis was supported or not. And then you have to talk about what next. What would you as a scientist do next in another experiment? Okay, all right, so that's step 6. Step 7 is to communicate your results. This is very, very important in the scientific community that we share information that we get. It's how we learn from each other. That's how scientists don't really waste time on things that have already been determined. Now, there's always room to learn more about whatever topic. There are some scientists that spend their entire career studying just one very small thing in the natural world. But it's very important that we communicate our findings, one, so that it can be checked by our peers. So they can, like run our procedure, do our experiment, and see if they get the same results. Maybe they see some place where you made a mistake in your research, in your experimentation. And then sometimes it helps them in their research. Maybe they want to go further and do a different experiment. And so your experiment and communicating your results actually helps them build their background knowledge and their research so that they can ask an even better scientific question. Okay. Now, that communication of your results can come in a lot of different forms. You can talk, you can just say it, give a speech, you can write it out. We will always write a lab report. Anytime we do an experiment, we will actually write it out. And then maybe you're going to present kind of like a science fair style. There are a lot of different ways to communicate your results, but that is very important. Okay, so now we've gone through all of the steps. Let's go back to that first slide. The steps of scientific method. Okay, so I hope at this point you feel very comfortable with the steps of scientific method. It's not necessary that you memorize these word for word. It's more important that you're able to actually follow the steps of scientific method to solve a problem or answer a question. So we make an observation, we notice something in the natural world around us. 2, we ask a question about it. We're curious. We're like, I wonder why, or I wonder how, I wonder what, right? And then you write a hypothesis, which is your educated guess about the answer to that question or the solution to that problem. Finally, you're going to plan an experiment. You're going to write out a procedure, plan it, and then conduct the procedure that will help you test your hypothesis. 5, you will then take the data that you collected when you conducted the experiment. You will analyze it, try to make sense of it. What does it mean? What is it telling you? Okay. And then you might make a visual representation, like a graph of some kind, for that data. 6, you're going to draw a conclusion about your hypothesis. Was it right? Was it wrong? And what was the data, the evidence that you collected that showed you that your hypothesis was proven or not? And then finally, you're going to communicate your results in a lab report or presentation, something like that. Okay, so those are the steps of scientific method, and I hope you've learned a lot. I hope you're ready to do some more in class. Thank you.